like and subscribe, and no one will get hurt. What were the sexual education disaster stories from your school? When we were in 8th grade we had the sex ed teacher come in and talk to us. She showed a picture of a normal penis, like one of those see-through pictures that explained each part. Well, in that it showed the balls. The teacher explained what they do and why you need them to impregnate a woman. She asked if there is any questions. Suddenly my friend Alex raises his hand and asks, let's say that a boy only has one ball, could I still have kids? And that's how we all found out Alex only had one ball. Poor fucking Alex. Did he at least get his answer? Turns out you can have a kid with one ball, so he's fine. Lol. Doesn't it depend on the ball? Doesn't it depend on the ball? Doesn't it depend on... Not exactly sex ed, because I had to go to a Catholic school, but all of us boys got banned less than 5 minutes into our puberty talk, because 2 kids joked about a poorly drawn diagram of a penis. We were told we were gonna have the presentation at a later date. Never did. No, I think they were just looking for an excuse. I don't know what they expected. Yeah, it wasn't even the teacher or someone directly affiliated with the school who called it off. The guest speaker just couldn't deal with a couple 11-year-olds snickering at couple of oddly bushy balls. But like, what did they expect? The only sex education that we got in my school was a 2-week course during our biology class. I lived in a pretty conservative part of Texas growing up, so our sex education was basically just about abstinence and a few of the really gross STD pictures. Our biology professor showed us a live birth every year. The worst part is that it was a video of her giving birth to her son. I never want to think about my teachers who her especially while giving birth. My husband teaches high school. They get age appropriate and comprehensive sex ed from around 2nd grade on. It's state mandated, gladly, because I'm sure my super conservative county wouldn't allow it. So, sex ed doesn't hold stigma in the presentation. Here's the curriculum, here is why it's the curriculum, teach it. However, if any of the teachers showed their own birth video in class, they'd probably be asked to resign. Show a birth video, by all means, but keep it professional and educational. Making an example of your own bits is super duper unethical. Yeah, something about it is just weird. And even if I had to resort to my own birth video, I feel like I would edit it so you don't know it's me and never own up to it, but even that is still super weird. Hella uncomfortable. This just makes me think of that South Park episode where they are teaching sex positions to 6-year-olds. Lol. This was in the late 90s in public middle school. The school held an assembly and brought in a group of these weird bodybuilders talking about sex and God. One of them tried and failed to rip a phone book in half. I don't remember much about it, except they took a volleyball net and stretched it out so the holes got really big and said something to the effect of, "This is a condom." Imagine how easy it would be to throw a volleyball through that net. Not hard, right? Well, condoms are made to protect sperm from passing through, but the AIDS virus is much smaller than sperm, and just like a volleyball through this stretch out net, it can get through much easier. Edit. I'm shocked this was such a popular trend, or maybe even the same group _power team. I just remember being appalled at the religious, abstinence only and anti-science messages. If my children came home and told me about this, I would throw a fit. I don't blame you. Sex education in the States is abhorrent. I remember how the teachers, when I was in school, took themselves way too seriously. Sure, but every state and county differs. My experience in the States was many times better than the stories here. We also had it 5th through 8th grade. A kid asked what popping a cherry was, and the teacher, who was a big burly idiot of a guy, bluntly said, "When women lose their virginity, they bleed all over the bed, and cherries are red." Absolutely mortified expressions washed over the face of every girl in the class, and I vaguely remember one girl saying, "Not happening." Apparently some of them complained to their parents, and the next day he had to clarify, but with the most sarcastic "only some of them do" explanation. My mom was on the PTA at the time, said some of the parents lost their shit. Another time, One kid asked why his balls hurt when he squeezed them, and he said, because you're squeezing them, don't do that. Well, he wasn't wrong with that last part. Unless I'm also missing some critical info. In 10th grade, our health teacher asked for volunteers to demonstrate putting a condom onto a banana. Weirdly, she asked one student to put the condom onto the banana and another kid to awkwardly stand there holding the banana erect. The two guys who volunteered were best friends. One of them was very popular and the other one was a bit of hanger-on. People used to speculate that he had a thing for his popular best friend, although that was probably just teenagers being gossips. When the two of them stood up to do the demo, people whispered to each other and laughed a little bit, probably because of this rumor. The popular kid was the one holding the banana erection and the hanger-on was the one demoing the condom. When the chuckles started, the popular kid began to blush, which of course made the whole experience feel more intimate. Suddenly it's a classroom of 10th graders watching a maybe besotted hanger-on intimately handle his best friend's banana. As the hanger-on began rolling the condom down the tip of the banana, the popular kid, grimacing with embarrassment, squeezed the base of the banana a little too hard, and the banana burst. The peel split on the sides of the banana. The mushy fruit spurted out. The banana had prematurely ejaculated. And you got us invested. Did he have a thing for his best friend? Did his best friend reciprocate the feelings? When are they getting married and what should I send them? We need to know. But seriously, are the boys a couple now or? I wanna know how the story ends. Please consider becoming a writer with word choice skills like that. You painted the perfect description of what happened that it almost sounds fake, but I just have to believe that it's real. You are amazing. Secondary school, we had a visitor come in and talk to us about sexual health. We were crammed in a pretty small room, chairs and neat rows. Things were fine, fairly light-hearted and educational, right up until the STD slither show starts. She pulls up a picture of severe genital warts and the guy behind me immediately projectile vomits chocolate milk all over himself and his row. I have emetophobia, so everything was kind of a blur after that, but I have vague memories of about 30 teenagers trying to book it out the room at the same time, and this guy was just sitting there covered in chocolate milk puke, a puddle of it around his feet looking like he was contemplating drowning himself in it. Felt kinda bad for him, but it didn't stop me bringing it up every time I bumped into the guy for the next 10 years till I moved. Good lord, I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I bet that dude always wears a condom now. I was at an all-girls Catholic school, and the scheduled time for sex ed, mostly puberty info, was during BO. Our teacher was a really young guy who was super sweet, but also painfully awkward. He'd just sit at his desk while the female nurse came in to give us the talk. Well, the nurse was kind of old, and she didn't realize that she was using a Sharpie to draw on the whiteboard instead of a marker. Long story short, there was a giant diagram of a vagina drawn in red on his whiteboard for months. His face when he realized it belonged on the watching people die inside subreddit. Isopropyl alcohol will remove Sharpie sig hahaha yeah, we figured that out eventually. But it took a little while lol. I ask because I always see sex ed on TV, shown as the students always shocked and disgusted as the teachers do this perfect rundown of a lesson. When I had sex ed, our teachers were very uncomfortable and vague with everything, and just ended up skipping the entire thing altogether. We were at our hormonal prime, so might have been nice to know a thing or two. It sucks that there are still so many places and people that are against proper sex education. In my school we had half a school year talking about sex ed in the health class in year 8, and then another half year in year 10th. I went to a public high school in Texas during the late 90s. Along with teaching the basic nuts and bolts biology behind reproduction, every effort was made to push us toward abstinence until marriage. We got all the horror stories of the awful things that STDs would do to you if you caught one. And while contraceptives were covered, there was a strong emphasis on their failure rate. But two things about our sex ed still stand out to me today. They took all the students into the auditorium. There, they gave us this little presentation featuring a convoluted chart which tried to convince us that if everyone had just 2 sex partners in their life, we were all guaranteed to get an STD. They also told us all that, while it might be a double standard, the reality was that men can have as much sex as they want without any social repercussions. It's even worth bragging about, but any woman who is not a virgin will be perceived as used, and no good man will want to marry her. And that having sex with a man before marriage will damage your relationship with him, and he will no longer see you as worth marrying. So if you're not a virgin, ladies, you're a disgusting whore who has no value as a partner, and you probably have chlamydia, and won't know it, until you try to have a baby, and discover it's destroyed your fertility. And naturally, not a single word was ever breathed about anything LGBT. We weren't allowed to have sex ed, because the school is in Texas. You couldn't swing a backpack without hitting a pregnant girl. One of the girls I graduated with was pregnant with baby #2 at graduation. Dude, same. But I live in Massachusetts. How do schools get away with this? Evangelism. We need to make separation of church and state a thing for real. Says, oh man, America is weird. I go to an Protestant school in Germany and had sex ed in 4th, 6th, and 8th grade. We even talked about LGBT people and none of the parents complained. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel. A new video every day.